report. Now on to Talk of the Nation. This week, officials of the opposition National Unity Platform went to Kitalya Prison to visit the where officials and supporters of the party are detained over terrorism-related charges. Now, prominent among them is Muwanga Kivumbi, who is charged with over 20 people who were also arrested days after the 2026 presidential and parliamentary elections. On the other hand, Yusuf Nsibambi, the Mawokota South MP who lost to an NRM candidate and later defected to the ruling party, reportedly accused the NUP officials and lawyers of deliberately not helping suspects out of prison. And now I am joined by one of the party lawyers, Musisi, who is also the Kira Municipality MP-Elect, to understand why they are not doing enough to secure freedom for their colleagues. Good evening to you, Council, and thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Good evening, Mildred and the viewers.
And so you heard the Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi is accusing you, the NUP lawyers, of not doing much to get your colleagues that are in prison, for some of them for the longest time. How do you respond to this?
Of course, the accusation is unfair, given that, and I've had him making the same accusation to the lawyers representing Dr. Kiza Besigye. Similarly, I think it's unfair. The lawyers representing the political prisoners have done everything under the laws to secure their release. And the only reason, and anyone who says that they're not doing enough is only agreeing to the fact that maybe they are being held for extra legal reasons. They're not held for legal reasons or lawful reasons, but they are held on other reasons, which is an acknowledgement that Yusuf is tacitly making. Honorable Yusuf, the lawyers have done almost everything that there is legally. We've had over 5 bail applications, even after the Supreme Court decision. Remember, there's a Supreme Court decision of 31st January 2025, which even said that many of those people who are facing charges in the court martial should be transferred to civilian courts, which has been defied with impunity. That is not the job of the lawyers to go and transfer the files. What the lawyers were supposed to do, to move court to ensure that these people are released, courts have almost shut their doors onto these people. So I think, with the greatest of respect, Honorable Yusuf is cherry picking. He's using this as a good political line for his newfound political position. But
he's offered an alternative for what can be done so as to see that those people are out of the are released. Because he set an example. He says over 80 people are lined up or going to be released, and all the NUP supporters or those that are in prison, all they have to do is to just go and apologize and admit that they were misled.
Well, for starters, there are two things in that. As a lawyer, if you have to look at it from pure legal reasons, under what circumstances would the suspect apologize and be released? A suspect would only be released or pardoned by the president if they plead guilty and then the president pardons you. The other option, the political one, is acknowledging that these people are held illegally, let them be released unconditionally. That is the political option. First of all, for us, we are calling for the release of these people unconditionally, because in the first place, they're not supposed to be in prison. And there are other people who are turning around to say, no, NUP is not interested in the release of these people. We are calling for the unconditional release of these people.
But you're saying they're not supposed to be in prison. Yes, the government is putting, for example, Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi is being accused of terrorism.
Yes, and
there are charges levied against all the prisoners that are in prison right now as we speak.
Of course, even Mandela was facing charges. It's under these sometimes this government, it's very easy to have a charge, to use the law. It's called weaponizing the law to hold you in some bit of lawful custody. For instance, people like Yusuf Nsibambi, he's held in prison because he was alleged to have been at Kavule in February when he wasn't there. Physically wasn't there. There's even evidence that wasn't at the very place. There are people like Gaddafi. He's also in Kitalya Prison. He wasn't even there where he's being physically accused. So you can be there for all sorts of reasons. Eddie Mutu is accused of holding a knife together with over 10 other people to steal a phone. So it's not about the charge. because all forms of political prisoners in the world have faced some sort of charges. It's used to legalize their detention. But we are not against the release of these people. We are saying these people should be unconditionally released. What is unfair, of course, is some of these people taunting it for obviously political reasons sometimes. Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi even talked about, he showed a list which included Doreen Kaija, that, you know, we've talked to this person, and Doreen Kaija, he has not spoken to Doreen Kaija. At least I can confirm that on good authority. And
he also mentioned Saida Madada. He said they have a dialogue, they have an agreement with the government.
I've not spoken to Sauda, but I've spoken to Doreen, and I know that he has not spoken to Honorable Nsibambi or any of his agents. So what I'm saying, what is unfair to those people is us to use them to achieve political gains. What we should demand for as a country, and what we're demanding for now, is the unconditional release of political prisoners. And then, if we are to talk about the dialogue that Honorable Nsibambi at one point was taunting,
yes,
about 2 weeks ago, I don't know whether he has abandoned it. Dialogue should be institutionalized, should be on the bigger issue. Why do we weaponize the justice system? Because we shouldn't be talking about 1, 2, 3 people. Then, as you are releasing them, you are holding into custody 100 others. And then they also, because this is not even the first time. I remember 2 years ago, the Minister of Children's Affairs convinced some people to go out, and they went out. However, the issue of political prisoners has not stopped because, like you've rightly mentioned, people like Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi were just freshly charged about a month ago. So we should talk about the bigger issue of weaponizing the judicial system to fight political gain.
So as the party, I know you say you have done everything in your power to try and secure their release, but how then do we move on from here? What plans then do you have, since you are not even willing to, you know, do as the president is asking, to go and apologize and admit that these people were misled?
I don't know what you call misled. And I don't know who. Of course, that is political talk. That is political talk by politicians who are intending to use it for political gains. And that's what I'm saying, that if indeed we want to bring an end to the issue of political prisoners, let us talk about the whole issue of weaponizing the justice system. It's what has brought the issue of political prisoners back to the fore. Because if you say these people were misled by who? Why don't you arrest the misleaders? Meanwhile, we're talking about adults, some of whom are over 50 years of age. They are not misled. In any case, they are facing different charges. So one was misled to do terrorism, another one was misled to do aggravated robbery, another one misled to be a common nuisance. So that is political talk. The issue is, everywhere there is talk of political prisoners, people should not be talking about political prisoners 31 years after the promulgation of our constitution, which respects the rights of freedom of association and assembly. We should talk about, and you're saying that as a part, what should you do? We should talk about how can people enjoy politics without fear of recrimination or being criminalized.
Now, Council, your president, Robert Kyagulanyi, is in hiding, and almost all the vice presidents are also battling various cases in courts of law. Would you say you are experiencing a leadership void, and also how every other thing is playing? Could it be tagged to the fact that the vision bearer of the party is not within?
There's no leadership void. There's no leadership void. Physical absence doesn't mean absence, doesn't mean void. No. He has even communicated to the whole world, as you have seen. Every time he has needed to communicate, he has communicated. That means he communicates to the people he wants to communicate to when he wants to. So there's no void. Okay. Yes.
And so now you've described clearly what what is happening within the political party. Of course, having some of the supporters, even some of the leaders, incarcerated and under arrest. How does the party then intend to survive given the circumstances going forward?
The party is institutional. How does the party intend to survive? It intends to survive by playing to the roles. The people who want to destroy it are not playing by the roles. And it shouldn't be even an NUP issue. It should be a concern for everyone that why should political activity, especially civil and lawful political activity, be criminalized. So the party intends to survive the way it has survived before, by playing by the rules, because it's a firm believer in the rule of law that we know. The people also should know that the strength of NUP doesn't necessarily lie at Kavule, but it lies in why, because many people believe in it. It's the people who give it the mandate, not the other around. It's not NUP as the headquarters which give the mandate to the people. So for as long as it has members who believe in this, because we've had movements world over. Some of them have even been, at one point, the revered Nelson Mandela was declared a terrorist. His group ANC was declared a terrorist group. So that did stop the movement from going, because it had people who believe in it. So for as long as NUP sticks to the values and the people stick to their belief in NUP, it shall survive.
But also, as we conclude this conversation and in your closing remarks, the situation with the opposition, NUP, and also the opposition at large, there have been, again, fingers being pointed at you that you have wrangles and internal fights that have actually placed you in the positions that you're in.
Well, every organization, even family organizations, have differences, have disagreements. The key issue is, how do you resolve those disagreements? Every political group would have disagreements. I don't think you describe them as internal wrangles, because where politics, where one or two people are, they always tend to be people who see things differently. To
rightly put it, they say it's the leadership, the top leaders that always have the final say.
On what?
On everything that happens in the party, and the rest of you are sort of like oppressed. Well,
I mean, NUP, and I don't feel oppressed, and every time I've needed to say something, I say it. So I don't know, but maybe those are neighbors peering into it who fear. For some of us who are in, we're seeing a different position.
Council, what would be your closing remarks?
I think it pays when everyone advocates for fairness and rule of law, irrespective of what political affiliations you belong to. Because when you start looking at the law or what is right or wrong with political lenses, you lose the point, and it doesn't help the country at a bigger level.
Okay, that is NUP lawyer George Musisi, and also the Kira Municipality MP-Elect.